Hey guys, it's Brant.
I'm Steven.
Got Steven back today, and we're doing a album review.
Yeah.
And came up with an interesting concept that I always drive. And if you hear grandbabies, they're not being murdered; they're just being watched in the next room. They are under adult supervision. But we're going to play reverse roles here today. I'm going to let Steven in the driver's seat, and I'm going to play the role of Steven today. And he's got an album he wants to talk about. He wanted me to listen to it. I'd never heard this album before. And I found out that I was a little familiar with one of the songs off of it, but we'll get into that. So, Steven, take it away.
All right. So, everybody, today we will be reviewing Fall Out Boy's Take This to Your Grave.
Good to go when I'm going nowhere fast.
And the reason I wanted to do this album is because this is actually the first album that I didn't buy it myself, but it's like the first album that I ever went into a store and picked. So just a little story on that. So flashback to, I was about 8 or 9 years old probably at the time. My family had just moved from North Carolina to West Virginia. It was the beginning of the school year, so we went to the mall up there to do a little school clothes shopping, and my mom gave me $10, and so I went to GameStop, couldn't find anything I wanted for $10, and so we went to this store called FYE, or FI, which is short for Your Entertainment. And I looked around for a little while, and I just saw the cover there, sitting on the new releases. 4 dudes with blue over them.
Right.
Sitting on a broken futon. And I was like, just a little bit of preface back in my youth years, I was like, a skater dude. And I loved to skateboard and stuff. And I'm like, these guys look like cool dudes. And
they look like they'd skate.
They look like they'd skate, and they look like they'd be really bad influences. I'm going to buy it. And I did, and we only had a tape player in the car that we were driving, so I waited till I got home to listen on my little Dollar General CD player, and it was awesome. And I loved it, and I listened to this album for a long time until I think we moved, and I inevitably lost it with my irresponsibleness as a child.
Yeah.
But I started re-listening to it recently, and I didn't realize how much of an impact that it made on not only the kind of music that I like, but the kind of music that I play. And I think it kind of set the course for the kind of music that I would like, that I would go to listen to in the future.
Okay.
But that's all I really have to say about it, just from a personal standpoint.
Okay.
So if you, let's see here. We'll move on to release date. Again, it's called Take This to Your Grave by Fall Out Boy. It was released in May 6th of 2003. The studio it was recorded at was primarily a studio called Smart Studios. It's 39 minutes long. The label that released it is Fueled by Ramen, even though it was funded by Island Records.
Yeah. Are you going to tell the story about that later?
I'll probably do that before we get to the songs.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And the members of Fall Out Boy, and this will stay the same, members as well as instruments will stay the same throughout the album, and I'll mention any if it mixes up. We got Patrick Stump on lead vocals and rhythm guitar and piano for one song. Pete Wentz on bass, backing vocals, and unclean vocals on certain tracks.
A Cookie Monster?
He does a little bit of Cookie Monster, yeah,
okay.
But it's background.
Okay.
John, I think it's Troman as lead guitar and backing vocals, and Andy Hurley on drums and percussion.
Okay.
You got anything you want to add?
Let's see. Well, like I said, I have no retro on this. I have no experience with it. It was the first time I heard it earlier this week whenever he told me he wanted to do this review on it. And he told me it was the first album he ever bought. So I was like, cool. I definitely want to do that. Other than the stats that you've said, you've got more stats than me. We talked about them along the way. Are you going to cover any of this as we go down or anything?
You can if you want.
I've got that. Like you said, it was it was released when it was. I've got on here was interesting stat. I found that BuzzFeed ranked this album number 9 on their 2014 list of 36 pop punk albums you need to hear before you effing die. And Rolling Stone ranked this album number 5 in 2017 on their 50 greatest pop punk albums of all time. So I actually looked up the wiki a little bit and read it before I actually started listening to the album, because I wanted to kind of see what I was getting into, how many members there were in the band and things like that. So when I saw those two stats, I was actually like, oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
But I will tell you, pop punk is not generally a genre for me.
Yeah.
So, but I go into everything with an open mind. Try to.
Yeah. There also are some guest music or additional musicians. Justin Pierre, he does backing vocals on a song later on, and Jeff Warren, who also does some guest vocals. And the whole thing was produced by Sean O'Keefe, which he's pretty well known in like the pop punk and like scene as being a good producer.
Okay.
I think he had something to do with producing one of Nirvana's records, or his studio may have.
Okay.
As far as I could read. But let's see. Just a little bit of history on what was leading up to this album with Fall Out Boy. They were in the Chicago punk scene. It was kind of, the DIY punk going on there that was kind of taken over in the late 90s, early 2000s. And they... the lead vocalist was actually a bassist. And they were kind of all getting fed up with bands that they were in, or they'd all been in previous bands, and they kind of joined up. And so they wrote a very short EP. It took them like 2 days to record it. They took some of the demos from that and remixed them and put them on here. A lot of it they just scrapped because they didn't like it. And that's technically their first album. It's called Fall Out Boy's Evening Out with Your Girlfriend.
So I like that title.
Yeah.
That's a good title.
And the lead guitar, or the bassist who came in, he actually does a lot of the things that a frontman would do, composing the songs, and Patrick's just kind of the puppet there that does it.
I did read that. I didn't make it in my notes, but I did read it in the wiki that the guy who basically sings didn't take lyric writing too seriously.
Yeah.
So this guy basically stepped in and took it over and actually was super critical and really critiqued and rewrote and rearranged, and he was like a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, but so another interesting thing, Fueled by Ramen was another kind of small independent label around the Chicago area that was doing a lot of bands. They did people like Paramore and that kind of vein of music. But before the album's release, because they were making such a big boom in that scene, they were contacted by Island Records, who was a major label, and they were like, "Well, we don't want to lose our street cred with the punk scene by selling out."
Oh, we're on a big label now.
Yeah. By selling out. So they finished out the album with Island funding it. They gave them a budget of $40,000 to do the album. Mm-hmm. They only spent $18,000.
I wonder what they did with the rest.
I don't know, but
bought skateboards and beanie hats.
Probably. And so they released it. It kind of became a commercial success, and then they did a tour, a pretty short tour, going with Van's Warped Tour in 2004, and then they got right to writing Under the Cork Tree, which would release in 2005 and become like the biggest album they did up until some of their more recent stuff.
I was going to ask you going into this, because I have listened to it, but I was going to ask you, because I don't have any experience with Fall Out Boy whatsoever. But I was going to ask you if this was like the album they're known for, or were they one of those people that their sophomore, their freshman album was, what got their interest, but then their sophomore album was the one that skyrocketed.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. It was one that wasn't where their first album's huge, and then their second album not so much. Mm-hmm. This was a step up and then a step up.
Yeah, it was definitely, this was like the I guess the debut Kiss album.
Right.
If you want to put it in Kiss terms. And
right.
I know I'm going to skip forward a few of our albums here, but if this is debut Kiss album, their next album is Alive.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, it took Kiss a little bit of time, But anyway, okay, cool.
But that's really all I have as far as notes.
Okay.
if you want to just get right into the songs.
Now, did you mention tracking? Where it as far as charting?
Oh, I didn't. You
Okay.
can if you'd like.
I've got that note too. The album peaked at number 10 on the Billboard charts, which, like I said, number 10 on Billboard. And but I noticed it was on like the indie charts. But still,
it's got a weird name. It's
Yeah.
called the Heat Seeker
the
chart.
Heat Seeker charts, yeah. But still, it's a Billboard chart, and it was certified gold in the U.S. and the U.K. And of course, gold. U.S. and the U.K. they chart gold differently. And in the United States, it's 500,000 copies. In the U.K., it's 100,000 copies. So they chart it differently. But it's hit gold in 2 countries, at least that was noted in the wiki.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So if you got anything, if you don't have anything else, you want to do tracks?
Yeah, we'll go on. We'll go on to the first track. Tell that Mick he just made my list of things to do today.
To my favorite liar, to my favorite store.
And that one thing, I mean, I know we're going to, okay, so we just come back from the little music break, but I know one thing that I did notice about this album is the names of the
song
songs.
names.
The names of the songs are quite rather entertaining sometimes. And when I started off with this one, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Well, I'll let you go. You're going to be me, I'll be you.
Yeah. A couple notes about the song. It opens up with the telephone dial, which Wentz, the bass player, he found the contrast of the phone dial and the loud blaring music to be pretty interesting. There was a lot of arguing between the lyrics between Patrick and Wentz between this song, because this was actually one of the songs that Patrick took a little bit of care writing the lyrics on. So there's something that I read where they argued for like 2 days over the lyrics of this song, and they eventually both just compromised on it. Whenever Stump was just like, you know what, just do it, and he just threw his lyrics out. But he said, I finally realized that he must have been serious about the band if he's willing to put up this much of a fuss over the lyrics.
Over lyrics, right. Could have been those lyrics that he wrote. Maybe on a lot of the other ones he might have just been effing off on, but on those there might have been something about him that he just wasn't willing to give up.
Yeah.
You never know.
But gosh, what a pop punky way to start an album.
It's like, think pop punk. This is the song.
Yeah, it really
It
is.
really is.
And I love the lyrics of this song, and it's got like a cool pre-chorus, and it's got like solid riff structure, and then the actual chorus part, I really love the vocal, like kind of almost gymnastics that he does there, and it's just great. And another thing that I like about this is like the guitar work is fun and solid, and it just like it makes you want to loosen up. And even the solos, they're not crazily they're like they suit the songs, and they're not like insanely written or complex. And that's also kind of good for people who are wanting to get in and learn guitar, because it was a couple years later I got my first guitar. After hearing this album, and it was just like, it was really encouraging to be able to play a song all the way through, because it wasn't, as hard as Eruption or the solo to,
Right.
all these old 80s songs where, some of that stuff's hard
Right.
for a beginner.
Right. Some of the solos are just, people play years and never play those solos.
Yeah, so, but, I think it's a really strong way to start this out. I'm slightly biased with this album because of the nostalgia factor, but I tried to be as unbiased as possible, and I gave this song a 9.
Okay. Like I said, this is a song that basically, as soon as it started, I'm like, this is exactly what I thought this album was going to sound like.
Yeah.
And I knew his voice. So as soon as he started singing, he has a very distinct voice. I will say that.
Yes, he does.
And so as soon as he started singing, I'm like, yeah, okay, I've heard Fall Out Boy before. I've not heard this song, but I know this voice. They have a very distinctive sound. And it's simple and complex at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like I can understand, punk is typically just straightforward, very simple. And I think that's where the solos keeps in. If you ever really listen to a lot of punk, they're using a whole lot of really complex solos, if at all.
Yeah.
And the songs are typically really short, some of the songs on this album that took on a punk vibe, even though it is pop punk. You know, the abrupt endings to some of them. You know, they just get done at the very end of something, da 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 da, and they're done.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so it took on a lot. As far as this song goes, I've got upbeat, nice breakdowns, crazy name. That's my notes. I really liked how it started the album, and it made me want to put on a beanie hat and jump on a skateboard. It really did. I'm in the skate park and I'm breaking my neck because I'm an old man.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know how to score this to begin with, and what I made sure that I tried to do was I listened to the album about 3 times all the way through before I started scoring anything. And I kind of started picking my favorites out of the bunch and stuff like that. So, and then I kind of went back and just kind of scored them against each other. So if you're a Kiss fan and you watch my Kiss reviews, you cannot take a 6 from this album and score it against a 6 on a Kiss song. The two do not translate to each other. This is scoring, the 6 is scoring against the other songs on this album against the song that I like the best. Because I do have a favorite track on this album, so this is scoring the album against itself, like in its own little universe. Okay.
Okay.
But I score this song a 6.
Okay.
So and that sounds bad, but it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. But it is a 6. I like it actually. It was a good way to start the album. I wasn't disappointed, and it was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be what I expected.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Then I guess we'll move on to the next track, Dead on Arrival.
Dead on Arrival. All right.
So there's not a whole lot I can find out about this song. I know this is one of the earliest tracks that they wrote together, and not a whole lot changed. This is one of the 3 singles that was put out from this album. In my opinion, it's the best of the 3. But... it's just, I remember one time I listened to this song a bunch, and all the Guitar Hero and Rock Band craze started coming out, and then they put out Rock Band 2, I think, and that song was on Rock Band 2, and man, I was like, I wish I could play all 4 instruments at the same time.
That'd be cool.
And because I don't know, it just made me so happy that it was on there, and I would say this is probably the most... when I think Fall Out Boy, and, they've went through a lot of different changes. Their most recent albums, there are still some guitars, like... I can't think of the name right now. The last one I can think of is American Sweethearts, but that was released in, 2008. But their newer stuff, it's kind of... Save Rock and Roll was released in 2014. It's got some guitars, but he's moved in more of a pop direction, and he's obviously got vocal training, kind of poppy. But when I think of Fall Out Boy, this is the song I think of. This or Sugar We're Going Down off of the next album. And it's just like the quintessential Fall Out Boy song for me. If you told me to pick 3 out of their whole catalog, I'd be like, well, Dead on Arrival's one of them. And just like the solid vocal harmonies and the guitar solo, it's not super complicated, but it suits the song really well. I mean, my remarks are probably going to be mostly the same for this because,
is this that one that's got that part in it where it goes yeah. Yeah, okay.
The last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this time we were talking about like flipping the record?
Yeah.
Flip the record,
yeah.
And here's your chorus and here's your verse.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like how they did the reference to the vinyl. Flip the record. I like that.
But yeah, this song's a 10 for me.
Okay. All right. Dead on Arrival. I really like this song. It seemed like I've heard it before. I found me catching and recognizing parts of it. So since this was like maybe one of their singles and probably one of their bigger hits, I've probably heard it before in some point in time.
Probably on like radio, on like rock radio.
Maybe even you playing Rock Band or whatever.
No, yeah, true.
But I love the changes. I love the riff of it. And this is probably my favorite song on the album. And like I said, I can tell you I scored this one the highest. I scored an 8. But the only reason why I didn't score it a 9 or a 10 is because even though I really like it, it's not exactly the kind of music that I like. But I do like this song, and I think it's a great song. And it's one of the songs that, it's one after I was done listening and a couple days later, it is probably the only song off the album that if you told me to hum any part of one song off the album, that's the only song I could probably do it off of. And it, and I can hear the flipping the vinyl and this is your, and and there's that one time where he says and this is your, and he don't say verse, they do something or whatever. But I really like this song, so I scored an 8.
All right. Well, pleasantly surprised so far. Okay. So next we're gonna move on to Grand Theft Auto. Where's Your Boy?
Yeah. 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 The Grand Theft Auto and Where's Your Boy? Yeah.
So I did have some notes on here, but I don't know where they went. So this was another one of the 3 singles that were released. This is the one that actually charted the highest.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and this song, it starts out with the acapella.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I don't really know how I feel about this song. I feel like it goes in a couple different directions, and I don't really feel like the lyrics are too inspiring. I do know that this song was particularly important to Patrick Stump, the lead vocalist, for some reason I can't recall right now. But yeah, I think this is probably like towards the middle of the road tracks for this album.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay. Let's see. Grand Theft Auto. I've got on my list, on my notes, I've got the nice change on this one. I like the drumming. Some of his licks are really cool. So, like I said, that's really the only note I have about it. But I scored this one a 6.
Okay.
I liked it about as much as I did the first song, but I liked that it was different from the first song. It was like you said, it was a change. When it started off with acapella, I really didn't know exactly where he was going to go with it.
Yeah.
But, I was pleasantly surprised, and I like the drumming. For me to point out that I like the drumming on this one, then it had something in it that I particularly liked. Either he did something syncopated or something, whatever. I mean, he does a lot of fast fills. That's kind of the par for the course with pop punk.
Yeah.
Like Green Day's drummer does a lot of fast fills too. And, but even though Green Day, I guess you could consider them pop punk too in a lot of ways, I don't know if these two quite, to me, go in the same box with each other. I don't feel like I need like I said, I'm not making fun of it, but I don't feel the need to throw on a beanie and go skateboarding when I listen to Green Day, but I really do. I can envision skateboarding in this, listening to this album.
When I've listened to Green Day, I feel like locking myself in a closet and drawing hearts on my arm. And moping.
So, but yeah, so I scored this one. I scored this one 6. So what we got next?
All right, next is Saturday.
I'm good to go with something good. Though the motions I've been going through.
Saturday.
Which is not for a couple more days, sadly. So this is the first time that Stump and Wentz collaborated on vocals. Vocals collaborated on vocals in a constructive way.
Is this the one where he comes in as Cookie Monster?
I think so.
I think he did that some in the first song a little bit too, kind of in the background. The one thing I can say about Cookie Monster-ish, and I'm not a big fan of Cookie Monster, but if you're not flat out gutter screaming, or if it's not like in your face, gutter, I can handle it.
It can be done tastefully.
Yeah.
So there's unclean vocals on tracks 1, 4, 8, 10, and 12. So this is track 4.
So this is one of them. Okay.
This is one of them.
Okay.
It says Wentz considered this the best representation of the band at the time, and it's also about how it was about Stump, how he felt after failing out of high school, and he apparently originally kept this song from the group because he wanted to release it like on his own later, but they found out about it and they were like, "It's a good song. We're putting it on the record." Also, note this is the third singles. So they put all the 3 singles together.
Okay.
And this one, I don't know. It's just another one that kind of falls flat for me, and it's like a little too generic. And like the chorus is not particularly inspiring in any way, and it's not because they don't like. It's not because it's not super fast or anything like that. Like don't get the idea that it's like a speed adrenaline thing or whatever. It's just whenever I listen, like oftentimes when I was going through the album, this is one that I would tend to forget. I'd be like, we'd come out of Against the Thought-em, and I'd be like, oh, track 5's coming up, and I'm like, oh wait, never mind, it's this
Right.
one.
Yeah, this one first. I got to go through this one first.
Yeah,
Right.
I gotta get through this one first.
Right.
And then about my 5th time through, I'm like, yeah, I know that one, and I'll skip to the next one.
Right.
So this one, I'm gonna go with the 6 on as well.
Okay. Saturday, my notes, and we don't compare notes ahead of time. I'm actually, you can't see off camera, I'm actually holding my paper away from him, but and not that we try to cheat. But Saturday, I got my notes. This one fell flat for me. The thing that kind of bothers me at this point on this album is a lot of these vocal hooks and a lot of these songs are starting to sound alike. And that really kind of takes away from me because I start getting bored. And so I scored this one probably the lowest on the album so far. I scored this one a 4. So this one is, up to this point, this one has been the worst track for me. And it's kind of funny that you said you get to this point and you're like, oh yeah, I got to go through that song. So at least I'm not off in left field here. I am kind of feeling what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so what's next?
Homesick at Space Camp.
Okay. Homesick at Space Camp.
So I don't have any notes for this one for some reason. It must have not just been talked about too much. I do believe this is one of the ones that came from the original 5-track EP. And again, it's like, for me, this, well, I don't want to give away too much, but this album kind of does like a U for me.
Okay.
And this is kind of like the bottom of the U.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And here's the thing. I don't know if it was something with Google Play where I was listening to this album on, or if it's actually like that on a physical CD. But if I wanted to listen to just this song, I couldn't. I couldn't just click on it and listen to it. I had to listen through Saturday all the way. Then I could listen to this song. And I had a CD one time where it had, I don't know how you did it or what it's even called, but there was a track, it was an Under Oath CD, I think. And in order to hear like this secret intro of the next song, because my CD player would finish out that song, the 4th track, and then it would say like negative 11 seconds, and then it would count back from negative 11 to 0, and then the 5th track would start. And I didn't know when you like burned it to a PC, or like if you ripped it to a PC, it didn't show up. It wasn't tagged on the back of the 4th track. I don't know how it did it, but I don't know if this track was like that. That would be pretty stupid to do for a whole track. Like I said, you probably could guess. This one, it's another one that kind of falls flat. It's rather forgettable, and the lyrical. If I can't remember the lyrics, it's probably not anything that necessarily stuck with me. So this is the lowest score for me at a 5.
Okay. Homesick at Space Camp,
Yeah.
we're talking about?
Yeah.
I've got, it's an interesting song. The changes they threw in, an interesting song with the changes they threw in, another unique name. I feel like this music is aimed at people much younger than me. I feel like I need to have on a beanie hat and be skateboarding. So it was apparently one of those songs where, you can hear it blaring over the speakers at the skate park. But I actually liked it better than I did Saturdays, because I scored it a 5.
All right.
There's probably something about Saturday that just didn't set right with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what's next?
next, sending postcards from a plane crash. Wish you were here.
Yeah. Postcards from a plane crash.
So I read something interesting about this one, that it's like they openly admitted that this song is filler.
Oh, okay.
They were like, it is a studio creation. They never played it live, anything like that. But I actually like the song a good bit.
Sometimes filler songs are good.
Yeah, I actually like it. I mean, when I say I actually like it, I mean we're coming back up from our low point we had there. So I gave this one a 7.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Sending postcards from a plane crash. Wish you were here. 4 I've got for this one. I didn't mean to say my number right off, but it's right after the title. Fell flat again to me. Issue with me, at least, is sounds like a few of the songs of the album. It does have interesting parts and changes like the other songs do. But late in this album, I need something different. So I scored it a 4.
I'm hearing a common theme in your notes.
Yeah.
This album sounds the same.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, now, a lot of the songs, it's like they really did sound the same. Same tempos, a lot of the same hooks. But what kept them interesting for me and actually kept these songs some of these scores more positive than they are, was the interesting little changes and stuff that they did throw into them. Each song had its own little interesting thing,
Yeah.
So,
All right. Next song.
next song.
Chicago is So 2 Years Ago.
Everything that passes should travel still. The gates through things I went through to avoid you.
Chicago's So 2 Years Ago.
Okay, this is another song that Stump initially did not want to record. He kept this secret in case the band didn't work out and wanted to pursue his own music. Producer O'Keefe wanted to introduce it to the rest of the band after he heard it. Stump singing it to himself in the studio. Wentz disliked the lyrics, and they argued. Wentz and Stump argued over every single word
I bet they did.
in the whole entire thing,
Really, they argued over every word in the whole thing, huh?
according to the thing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I think this is one of those songs where it's supposed to be like those, like you cheated on me and you should feel bad songs. I'm talking about how he's going to leave Chicago and become famous and go to LA and he won't remember you. And your pickup truck parked in front of your neighbor's house.
Right. Right.
And they do like an instrumental break, or not instrumental break, they do a vocal break where there's very little instruments, and I think that's cool.
I remember that. Okay.
And it adds a little, and because at some parts of it, it was a little disconcerting because I'm like, there's nothing. Is he on time? I don't know.
Right.
But I really like this song. This one is another coming up one for me, and I gave it an 8.
Oh, so you're starting to really come up.
Yeah.
Chicago's 2 years ago. I like the riff off of this one. Still sounds a lot like the other songs, but the riff and some of the a cappella singing that is also done in some other songs is a nice change. Like I said, this one, if I mention the riff, it had a riff, and I think this one, wasn't this one that had a little bit of more of a gutterish type riff, like a little, am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, I think this is the one, because I remember it. If I mention riff or I mention drums, it usually has something pretty cool, and it does kind of snap my memory. But this one's still hanging out in the middle there for me, so I scored this one a 5.
All right. Is it 5 from here on out?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
We'll just have to wait and see.
All right, next track.
Next track.
8, The Pros and Cons of Breathing. I love these track names.
Pros and cons of breathing.
We should do like a rating track, or like we should do our favorite track names list.
We should. Well, that's an idea. We should sometime do a favorite track titles of songs.
Yeah. Don't have any notes on this one. And I'm now that I'm thinking about it, I'm struggling to remember much about this song.
Okay. Don't tell me you scored it high.
No. I'm struggling to remember something about this song, to be honest. And no, it's not the song I was thinking
Oh,
of.
it's hard with Coco in the next room.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I guess I was lying a little bit on my U curve.
Well, you might have a little. This is a pothole.
Yeah, this is a pothole.
This is a pothole
So-
on the hill.
so-
on the hill.
So I went 7 with this one.
Well,
Still not
still
that.
a 7.
Still 7.
Pros and cons of breathing.
Yep.
My notes, not bad. Had some good hooks. I scored it a 5.
Awesome. I love it. Next track. Track 9. Grenade Jumper.
Grenade Jumper.
All right. So there's a bit of a backstory to this one, so strap yourselves in.
Okay.
Grenade Jumper references Cristo Guerrero, who was an early supporter of the band who attended every show from the beginning. The song's chorus came from a conversation between Troman and Stump in the kitchen of the band's apartment. Troman said that they had to write a fan appreciation song, and Stump noted how Chris was their only friend that showed up at every show. The song's title refers to a phrase coined by the band regarding whoever would be the person to have relations biblically with a girl in order to have the rest of the band stay at the house.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite songs on the album because it just starts off. It's like it punches back in really nice, and the lyrics are fun, and the riff at the end changes a little bit, and the solo is just nice and simple, and it really keeps it nice and like a good flow to the song. It doesn't interrupt it, but it adds everything that it needs. So I give this one a 9.
9, okay. Grenade Jumper. I said, not a bad song. It gets lost to me and sounds more like some of the other ones. This album makes me feel really old.
By the end, I imagine notes on your last track are like, these darn hoodlums are...
These darn kids, get out of my yard with your skateboards and your beanie hats.
And your falling out boys.
And you fall out boys, fall out of my yard.
I'm going to go listen to something... I can't even think of it. I was trying to think of something obscure.
I'm going to go listen to some James Taylor.
I'm going to go listen to some Girl School.
Girl School. Go listen to Girl School. I scored a 5.
All right. So, next track, Calm Before the Storm.
This story's going somewhere. He's well hung and I am hanging on.
A normal name.
A normal name.
Okay.
So, not too many notes on this one. This was the band's first true recording from the previously aforementioned Evening Out with Your Girlfriend. And the bridge contains some of the unclean vocals, as mentioned before, which apparently took between 5 and 6 tracks alone to create.
I have to go back and listen to that to hear that. Because I like to hear whenever they overlay stuff and they have something that sounds like it's so simple and then you find out it's like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 tracks. That's really cool.
But yeah, this is, although my previous statement about Dead on Arrival is what I think when I say quintessential Fall Out Boy. This is actually my favorite song on the album. And I say that purely because I remember listening to, like, I think I burnt this one out on my CD because it got to the point where it skipped a bunch on my old CD when I was a kid, and I got really upset because I was like, oh no, my favorite song.
I done burned
I
it.
can't play it anymore. I didn't know CDs were...
I done cut it with the laser.
I don't know. I didn't know that CDs were like cassettes and you could wear them out. But anyway, yeah, this is my favorite song.
Okay.
And it's just, I think it's just because it's so catchy. So I gave it a 10.
A 10 on this one, okay.
Yep.
So we're on Calm Before the Storm.
Yep. Where's your 2?
This one I got the song is good. I like some of the guitar hooks and I like the changes in this one, so I scored a 6.
Hey, that's like...
Hey, it's a notch up.
That's like number 3 in your book.
Yeah, it's a notch up.
All right. Next track? Track 11?
Next track, track 11.
Reinventing the Wheel to Run Over Myself.
You have to prove yourself. You have to prove it to me.
There you go. Emo at its best.
Let's see. Reinventing the Wheel was heavily inspired by the band Lifetime, not the channel. Following the song's conclusion, Damar Hamilton from Plain White T's can be heard singing the song's refrain while laughing.
Yeah, I remember that. There's some pretty cool stuff at the beginning and the end of some of the songs when they weren't abruptly cutting them off.
Yeah, This is another song that I gravitated towards purely because of the name. I do that a lot. I will, when I get a new album, so stupid. I look at the track list and I'm like, I find the ones that have like the cool or funny names, and I go listen to those first. I don't listen through the whole thing like a normal person should.
I want to hear that song first.
Yeah, because like when I first got it, I was like, reinventing the wheel to run over myself. That's hilarious.
It's hilarious. I want to listen to
I
that.
will listen to that one. Also, okay, I was going to say some of the content in this album probably wasn't suitable for a 7-year-old, but you were listening to Kiss. So,
I was pulling the trigger of my love gun when I was 8.
yeah, and telling girls about your sweet pain.
Yeah, my sweet pain and plaster caster. If you want to see my love, just ask her.
Yeah, so I feel like
Let's not even get me started on Nothing to Lose.
yeah, we'll just say we're even. Because I'm pretty sure that one of the songs starts, I think it may be Calm Before the Storm. He says, he's well hung and I'm hanging on. And then my tablet just died, I think. Oops. And I think it's in the first track, he says, your pink makeup looks so pretty next to his jeans. But this is another really good song for me, and I think it's partly just because I have good memories with it. So I give it a 7.
Okay. Reinventing with the wheel to run over myself. Fast one. I like the speed. Nice change from the previous songs. I scored a 6.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's like another 3.
Yeah. And so the last song.
This the patron saints of the liars and fakes.
Yep.
This is I kind of wish they would have started the album. I mean, I think they started it good, but I think they could have not stuck all 3 singles together and ended it with Dead on Arrival. Because this is not in any means a bad song. I just don't think it's a good way to end, because it's another one of those. It just it blends in. I'm not gonna say that all the tracks blend together. I'm just gonna say that the mediocre ones kind of run together. But the good ones really stick
Or
out.
the mediocre ones remind you of the other mediocre ones, and you start feeling like they all start sounding the same. Kind of like I did.
Listen, I'm not trying to justify that this album doesn't all sound the same. I know that.
Yeah.
But this is also their first album.
Right.
So, I mean, give guys a break.
Right. Yeah. So, what do you score this song?
I don't know, my tablet died, but I think it was probably a 7 as
7?
well. Yeah.
I've got on the Patriot Saints of Liars and Fakes. Not anything I hate about it. Not really anything I hate about it. I like the nice crunchy guitars, and I scored it a 5.
All right.
So, like I said, I really only went sub 5 on
One of them
on Saturday and on sending postcards from a plane crash. Wish you were here. Those 2. I only really went low on those 2.
Yeah.
And the 2 that I scored low, you also scored low. So not too bad.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
And the reason why a lot of these songs got so low of the scores where they were struggling to get above a 5 and a 6 is because, in my opinion, Dead on Arrival was so damn good. And when you have a song on this album shining that bright, the other ones kind of fade into the shadows a little bit.
Yeah.
That's exactly the way I looked at it.
And if he was to score them against Kiss songs, it'd be all 1s and 2s.
Ooh. No, I tell you what, Dead on Arrival would have still scored very solidly against a Kiss song. My rating against that on a Kiss song probably does not change much. Maybe it drops to a 7. Anyway.
I got to. I listened to that album a lot this week.
Yeah.
And
Kind of brought back memories, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It really
Ain't it funny
did.
how music can do that?
It really did. It's it actually reminded me of a friend I completely forgot. Who, gosh, I'm about to stereotype the crap out of this music, but
Was he a skater?
guess what we would do? He had one of those like Dollar General jukeboxes, crappy $10, and we'd put the CD in. And we lived in West Virginia, so there's hills everywhere, and we'd just like dive bomb down hills on our skateboards.
Imagine that. Did you have beanie hats on?
I don't think I was into beanies at that time. I do now.
I know you wear beanies now.
I'm fairly there has to be some Fall Out Boy songs on some Tony Hawk games. There has to be.
Has to be.
But there's also Rage Against the Machine on Tony Hawk games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because like I said, man, this music, when I hear it, it's like the quintessential. This is like the songs is like the skaters' national anthem.
if we went into the pop shop downtown, if they're not playing Fall Out Boy, I'm gonna riot. All right. Well, do you have any closing thoughts?
I do have a final thought. I wrote, this album made me feel old, but I really enjoyed Dead on Arrival. In my opinion, it's the best track on the album, and I was hoping for another song like it, but I never got it. Would I listen to this whole album again? Maybe not. But I put Dead on Arrival on my playlist.
I did it, guys. I infiltrated the camp.
It's on my playlist. So one of these days I'm gonna be going from Christine to Dead on Arrival.
So one thing, I had a question for you.
Okay.
On my presentation, I guess you could say. What did you think of the overall musicianship for a first album?
I think that the musicianship was very good. Now you noticed I never slighted the musicianship.
Yeah.
I think that the guitar playing, like I said, was very simple, but yet complicated and intricate. Very syncopated stops, and I listen for that. I listen for whenever people stop and they're doing syncopations. I listen for those brief gaps. Drummer was really good. The guitarist was really good. The singer has a good voice. It's just due to the nature of their music. He has a tendency. His voice really.
He has a box.
His role. Yeah, he has a box, and he stays in that box, and that really starts to make the songs sound a lot the same. But I still think he has a good voice. The screamer, the dirty vocals. Like I said, the bass player, what was his name? He did a really good job. I actually liked, I could handle and deal with the dirty vocals, the unclean vocals that was on this.
Yeah.
It was did in a way that I can handle.
And they also didn't like take over
Right.
whenever it was happening too,
Right.
which was another thing.
Right.
I think one of the most interesting things about this is I feel like they really, and so from someone from your generation where like vocal harmonies out of multiple people isn't so uncommon, like the Beatles and Kiss and Simon and Garfunkel,
Right.
that was pretty commonplace. But in my generation, everyone just double tracks. It's just the nature of the beast. And I thought that the vocal harmonies in this album are really interesting.
They were really good.
And good. And they do it that way for the most part.
So you want to wrap this up or me?
You can wrap it up. It's your
All
channel.
right. So hope you guys enjoyed this. If you put some comments down there in the comment section, let us know. Give a thumbs up. Give it a subscription if you're not subscribed before. And we'll go ahead and get out of here. I'm Brant.
I'm Steven.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.